here, about ready to go up to SIGHTLIFE. Look it, they know we're coming. Here I am at SIGHTLIFE, ready to interview Mr. Montoya. Hi.
Hi, Quentin.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to SIGHTLIFE. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
How you doing today?
Good. I'm here with Mr. Monty Montoya, President and CEO of SIGHTLIFE. I'm really excited to talk to you about SIGHTLIFE, your mission here, and what others can do to help. Then we can talk about something I love and I heard you do too, golf.
Yes.
So, Mr. Montoya, how long have you been here at SIGHTLIFE?
I've been working at SIGHTLIFE since 1997, and I've been the CEO of the organization since 2003.
Where did you grow up and go to college? What did you major in?
I grew up in Arizona, in the northern part of Arizona near Sedona, in a small town called Camp Verde. When I'm joking around, I like to say I grew up 10 miles south of Cornville. But it's actually a small town in northern Arizona. And I went to undergrad at Arizona State University, go Sun Devils, and then ultimately went on to get my MBA at Duke University, which is the home of 5 NCAA championships at Duke University.
My auntie Margaret spent a lot of time at Duke University. So,
She's awesome, isn't she?
yeah.
I bet.
How long has SIGHTLIFE been around?
So, interesting question. SIGHTLIFE was founded in 1969 by the Lions Service Organization. So we are in our 47th year, and not coincidentally, I think, I was actually born that year as well.
Please explain to the viewers what your mission is at SIGHTLIFE and why it's so important to you and what compelled you to be a part of it.
So SIGHTLIFE's mission is to serve as a global leader and partner to eliminate corneal blindness worldwide. The cornea is actually the front part of your eye, and so when you look into somebody's eye and you see the colored part of their eye, there's a clear layer of tissue that covers over that. And that's the cornea. And people have diseases or injuries or infections that cause the cornea to not work, and so they can't see and become blind. So our mission is to help restore sight to all the people who are cornea blind across the globe. There's over 10 million of those people today.
Wow.
And so my passion for this really began when I was at Arizona State, and I was able to get a job working nights and weekends as a technician, actually removing and preparing the corneas for transplant. From there, I was able over the years to travel around the world. I've actually been in over 35 different countries teaching and learning about the needs of the cornea blind of those countries around the world.
That's cool. Why do people need a corneal transplant?
So when that clear layer of tissue becomes damaged or infected or has a disease, it can either become shaped improperly or it can become cloudy. And when that happens, the light doesn't come into your eye properly and you're essentially blind. And so what we can do is we can take that damaged cornea and replace it with a clear cornea from a donor.
So where does the tissue come from for the transplants?
That's a really important part of the process, Quentin. So when people die, they are actually able to be donors to help people who are in need of sight or life-restoring transplants. And so what happens when somebody passes away in a hospital, they actually contact SIGHTLIFE, and we ultimately then interact with the people at the hospital and their families to see whether or not they wanted to be an organ, tissue, or in our case, cornea donor. And so those people who are amazing in their thoughtfulness of those in need donate those tissues after their death to help other people have their sight restored.
So I guess being an organ donor is very important.
That's right, Quentin. Being able to indicate on your driver's license or tell your family members that you want to be an organ donor is really important, because that conversation or that check of the box could be the difference between somebody having their sight restored or them having to live further in blindness.
Okay. I saw on your website that you have a strong partnership with India. Do you travel there a lot? What other countries do you go to?
Yeah, and so India is actually a very important country for SightLife because it actually has the largest population of cornea blind people in the world. And so we're very focused there trying to reduce the number of cornea blind in India. Subsequently, because of SightLife's work there and our focus there, I do travel a lot to India. And so typically in a year, I'll go there anywhere from 1 to 5 times a year. We also have other countries that we're working in as well. Countries in Africa where we actually have on-the-ground programs in places like Ethiopia, countries like Nepal. We're also looking at opportunities to serve in other areas like Mexico or other parts of South America or other parts of the continent of Africa.
That's cool. What can the average person do to help SightLife?
First and foremost, register to be an organ donor. That's really critical. Another thing that people can do is they can go online to our website at www.sightlife.org and learn about our organization and share that information with others. Thirdly, if they want to really get actively involved, they can become a volunteer or they can contribute financially to help our efforts in countries where people have great need, like India.
My grandma has macular degeneration in both eyes, wet and dry. It's been hard for her, and her vision has become limited. I think what you're doing at SightLife is amazing. Mama said you were going to take us on a short tour after we're done here.
Well, we are looking forward to taking you around the office and actually showing you what SightLife does and how we prepare the tissue for transplants. Also, it's really important for people like your grandmother that have macular degeneration because what SightLife does is helps provide tissue for research that we hope someday will find a cure to things like macular degeneration.
Okay, Mr. Montoya, before we show the folks at home SightLife, let's talk about one of my favorite things, golf. How long have you played golf?
I've been playing golf since I was about 12 years old. So I'm not going to tell you how long that is, though.
Who introduced you to the game?
So actually, golf has a very special place in my heart because my grandfather is the one who first introduced me to the game. And being able to go out and spend time with him on the golf course is one of the most fond things that I remember about him. So golf means a lot to me beyond just how much I enjoy the game, but it has strong family ties as well.
Do you play golf a lot for work? My daddy says golf is good for business too, and with family and friends.
I don't play golf for work as often as I would like to, but there are some opportunities. Sometimes it's potentially working with business partners where we can actually get together and learn about each other, playing a round of golf. Also, we participate in a lot of charity events as well. And golf is a fantastic medium for helping raise funds for a lot of really important organizations doing important work.
Why do you like the game?
I think golf is an amazing game because it challenges you in every sense of the way. It challenges you physically, it challenges you mentally, it challenges your stamina, it challenges you spiritually too sometimes. And so I think being able to have that constant challenge of the game is really stimulating to me. I also love the fellowship part of golf. Being able to go out and have a 4-hour time where you're with a group of people and can really get to know them is really special. One of the things that I really appreciate about golf today is actually playing golf with my son. And so now that he's in his 20s and a busy young man, to be able to sort of get him away on the golf course for a few hours are some of the really great times I can spend with him now that he's an adult.
Do you have any favorite courses?
Well, I have to say one of my most favorite all-time rounds I've ever played was at Chambers Bay this summer. And that's just an incredible gem of a golf course, and I really love it. I will say the golf course that I learned to play golf on, Lake Montezuma Country Club, which is down in Arizona, is just near and dear to my heart because I played so many rounds there. And then there's probably numerous other golf courses that I could talk about for a long time, but those are some of my favorites.
What is the best part of your game, and where does it need some work?
Wow, you know what? The best part of my game seems to change every time I go out. This past weekend, shockingly, I was driving the ball very well. And unfortunately, there were a few other parts of my game that weren't so on par, and I was way over par as a result. But that particular area in my driving, one of the things that I really have to work on is having a smooth and fluid swing and not trying to overhit the ball. And there's a lot of analogies with that with life. And so being able to use the right muscles and let the club do the work is something I'm constantly working on with my driver.
How do you equate golf to life?
I think there's a lot of analogies with golf and life. And, you take any given golf hole. Let's take a par 4. You might have a great drive, and you might have a great second shot, and you're 15 feet from the hole. And then all of a sudden you can lose focus and not be paying attention and seeing the right direction or the right line that you need to take. And the next thing you know, you've 3-putted and you've bogeyed the hole, or worse. And life can be like that too. We can get 90% of the way there and lose focus and not see the direction to finish correctly. And so I think that's just one of myriads of examples of how golf does parallel with life.
Okay, let's go see SIGHTLIFE.
Let's do it.
I love your wake up and dream sign. Where did you get it?
Well, thank you, Quentin. I think it's a great saying, and it really causes you to stop and think and ponder. And there was a woman in England, after hearing about SIGHTLIFE and our mission, and the goal we have to eliminate corneal blindness by 2040, saw this and felt like it would be great for us to have here at SIGHTLIFE. And so she sent it to us from England. And it's just something I like to keep in focus every day.
That's cool. So, Mr. Montoya, how big is this office and what are we going to see today?
Quentin, we have about 30,000 square feet of office and laboratory space at our headquarters here in Seattle. And what I'm going to do is take you through and show you each of the steps of eye donation and preparing the tissue for cornea transplantation.
Okay.
All right?
All right, let's do it.
Let's go. So Quentin, this board here shows the history of SIGHTLIFE from our beginning in 1969, when the Lions Service Organization helped create us, all the way up to present day, 2016. Over that time period, we've gone from providing 0 corneas for transplant all the way up to being able to provide over 24,000 worldwide in 2015.
Wow, that's amazing.
So one of the other important roles of any organization, Quentin, is this person right here, and that's Maria. And so she is the first face most people see of SIGHTLIFE. And so her job is really critical to what we do in welcoming people to our organization and helping them to feel great about what SIGHTLIFE does.
Oh, I see.
As you go through our office, you'll see pictures. And these pictures tell stories about cornea recipients and donor families. This one is really important. This is a young boy. His name is Kartik, and when he was at age 8, he actually was able to have access to a cornea transplant. How old are you right now?
I'm 9.5.
You're 9.5, so he was a little bit younger than you. And you can see what cornea blindness looks like here in this eye, and see how it's cloudy?
Yeah.
And then this is his right eye after his first transplant. You can see that one's clear, and you can actually see where the button from the donor went in. And so what SIGHTLIFE does here is we literally help people see the world through new eyes. And this is Kartik after his second transplant, when he could actually see out of both eyes, and he told the photographer he now is going to be a superhero because he could see out of both eyes. Now, do you wonder what it was like for Kartik when he was blind?
Yeah, I couldn't
So-
see anything.
Well, let's see what he could see. So if you put these glasses on right here, this will actually give you an idea of what it was like. What do you see?
It's really blurry. I can't see anything.
So can you imagine trying to hit a golf ball like that?
Yeah, it would be really, really hard.
Or ride a bike? Or read a book? So what cornea transplantation does is it helps him go from that to this, so he can see again. So we'll let you keep a hold of these right here. All right. So we help people see the world through new eyes to unleash their potential. And this is Kartik when he was 12 now. This is just last year. And he is now determined to become an artist and a scientist. And so he took this this computer from one of our staffers and drew a picture of an elephant and signed his name, which he could have never done before when he was blind. All right, so I'm going to walk you through the different steps of the organization. So the first area I'm going to take you into here is our Donor Services Center. And these are all transplant donor coordinators. And what they're doing is they're interacting with the hospital professionals who call us when somebody dies. And they're going to help the hospital professionals prepare the family for a conversation about potential donation. Our transplant donor coordinators will then interact with the families and help them understand whether or not their loved one was an organ donor or whether or not they would like to give permission for donation to happen. And then ultimately they'll help coordinate the logistics so that the corneas from that person can get to one of our laboratories and then ultimately be used for transplant.
Oh, okay.
So these folks have a really important job, and it's a really hard job because they have to interact with people who are kind of sad because they just lost somebody, and they have to do it in a very kind and caring way. And at the same time, there's really important information that we have to get to make sure that the corneas are safe and no diseases are transmitted during the transplant process. So they have to do all of that at the same time, and it's a hard job. And we have people here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they're always here working and answering those calls and interacting with people.
Oh, wow. 24 hours a day?
24 hours a day. So ready to go to the next section? Another important part of the process is caring for those donor families after their loved one has passed away. And so SIGHTLIFE actually has a family services program. And so people like Allison in the room there are interacting with donor families and caring for them over that first year after their loved ones passed away. And one of the things that we do ultimately is invite them to create a quilt square that tells a little bit about their loved one who passed away and actually gave the gift of sight. And then ultimately we put all these quilt squares together to create these quilts. And we keep these quilts right in the main part of our office here to remind us of how important it is that we honor those gifts.
Okay, that's cool. I like quilts. I feel really good. My granny does a lot of quilting. She's really good at it.
That's awesome because these quilts mean a lot to the donor families and to us as well. Okay. You ready for the next step?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It's okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, okay. So we're filming here, so
I apologize. So Quentin, this is the next important part of the process, and this is our medical review personnel. And what they do is they go through the medical information that we get about the donor, and they make sure that there's no chance of a disease being transmitted through the transplant process.
Oh.
So these folks are sort of like our CSI team because they're investigating all this information, making sure that we get everything right to ensure the safety of the tissue. Ready to see the next step?
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Yes, thanks. So I'm going to stop here for a second. So one of the things that's really important about any organization is the culture of the organization and the values. And at SIGHTLIFE, because of our mission to eliminate cornea blindness, we want to make sure we have a great organizational culture and really solid values. And so these are our values: passion, innovation, responsibility, integrity, and quality. And then we've actually spent time understanding what are the behaviors that actually exemplify each of those values. so that all of our people at SIGHTLIFE know how we want to behave in what we do.
That's cool.
So as we walk through, the offices through here are all vice presidents, and so they're important leaders in the organization. They're actually responsible for managing different areas of the organization. Tom Miller, our vice president of quality assurance and regulatory affairs, makes sure that we're in compliance with all of the FDA regulations that we have to follow in processing and then preparing the tissue for transplant. So Quentin, we're just about to one of the more interesting parts of the organization, and that's our laboratory. And that actually begins here with our surgical services team. And our surgical services team is responsible for 3 key areas. One, they're responsible for physically evaluating the corneas, each cell layer, to make sure that it will work when it's transplanted. 2, they're responsible for actually processing the corneas for special types of transplant. And the third one, they're responsible for getting the cornea from our laboratory here to wherever it needs to be transplanted. That might be just up the hill at Swedish Medical Center. It might be across the world in Kumasi, Ghana, and millions of places in between. And so it's a pretty incredible team that does that work.
Wow, across the world?
Yeah. So each month, we send corneas out to more than 20 different countries across the globe.
That's amazing. 20 different countries.
So you ready to go see the lab?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's go. Come on down here. So Quentin, this is the iBank laboratory, and really sort of the heart and soul of the organization. In the laboratory, our technicians are actually analyzing the cornea cell layer by cell layer to make sure that they're suitable for transplant. And then, ultimately, when the corneas are ready to be sent out, they're boxed up like the folks are doing over here and prepared for shipment wherever they need to go.
Do they need to be like, are they just in boxes? And there's like a little like, what are they in inside the boxes?
That's a great question. Let's go see.
Okay.
Come on into the lab here. Hi guys. How's it going? I have Quentin from Quentinvision here. He's taking a tour of the lab.
Hi.
And he just asked a question about what goes in the boxes and how do we package the corneas.
Great question. Doing it right now.
You guys mind explaining that to him?
No, definitely. So we have the corneas right here, and they're in the container, so you can view them.
Oh.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't look like a normal eyeball because there's no iris on there, which is usually the colored part. And so we put them in here, and it's in this pink fluid so that it'll stay good for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we put them in this baggie here, and they each have labels so that we know which one's which, and the surgeons know which one's which. And then we know, so we can know, we can look on the computers to see how healthy the cells are. He probably explained some of this. And then they go in these bags to kind of just protect it from the ice that we put in there.
That's good.
And what we do is we pack these ice bags. So this entire ice bag is just to keep this one cornea cold. And then we put them in these foam coolers that keep them cold until they go. We're actually shipping to Japan right now. So these are going all the way to Japan. So we put, 1 or 2 corneas in these boxes. Sometimes we do really big boxes, and we'll ship them other places in the U.S. And we put them in this foam container. I'm gonna mix them up. We put them in these foam containers, and they're protected. Like nice little cornea bed. And then we wrap them with this, and they go in here. And the ice goes on top. And we put them back. We put them in these boxes as well, and then we ship them to the surgeons, sometimes medical schools, different places.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Great.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great. So these are the refrigerators where we actually store all the corneas as they're being prepared for transplant. As I said, over here is an example of the cell layers that they look at with the microscope to see how healthy the cornea is. And so what we do is we actually count each cell in an area, and we can tell how healthy the cornea is by how many cells are in that area.
Oh.
And so one of the jobs that we have here are people who are very technical in laboratory work and actually running all of this equipment. So for some people, that's a really great job.
Which thing in here is a microscope?
So that's a great question. So there's a couple of them, and I'll show you. So the first one is this right here. This is called a slit lamp. I'll wait just a second until he's done with the tape. Probably better for you.
Yeah. Do you want us to stop? We can stop.
No. I think we'll be good in between.
Okay.
Finish it up. That's important. It's got to make the flight.
It does.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really important a lot of times is the time. And so right now they're packaging those corneas up. We have to make sure they get to the airport in time for the flight that's actually going to Japan. So this is called a slit lamp, and we use this to actually look at the corneas and each layer of cells that are contained in the cornea. And so that's one microscope. The next microscope is this device right here. It doesn't look like a microscope, but it is. It's called a specular microscope, and you set the cornea right here, and it actually produces the image that you see over here of the endothelial cells.
Oh.
And then the last microscope this is the last microscope, and this is called an OCT. And it actually creates an image of the cornea, so you can actually see the cornea. It tells us how thick the cornea is, and you can also see if there are any problems on the inside of the cornea.
Oh, I see. Wow. Is the cell structure similar to a crystal structure?
It is not similar to a crystal structure. That's a great question, though, Quentin. So these are actually collagen fibers that are crisscrossed each other in such a way that the cornea stays clear.
Oh.
And one of the reasons the cornea is clear is that there actually are not any blood vessels in your cornea. So that's why it's clear and we can see out of it. Do you want to actually look at a cornea?
Okay.
All right.
So interesting.
Ooh, there's none in there. Just a second. Light. So Quentin, this is a donor cornea. And if you look into the cornea and you see the clear area, that's actually the corneal tissue. And then the part around the edge is actually the white part, or the sclera, from your eye. So if you take this and you look through that up in the light, you're actually looking through somebody else's cornea.
That's weird but cool.
It is. And so what we're going to be able to do is take that clear cornea and help somebody who's currently blind be able to see again.
Oh.
So what we're going to be able to do is take this clear donor cornea and help somebody who's currently blind be able to see again.
It's going to be a miracle for that person.
It really is. Okay.
Wow.
Have you ever been present when somebody sees again for the first time?
I have, and it's really a special experience, Quentin. Most of the time, people are almost overcome with joy so much that they cry. I know when I was in the room the first time I cried, because it was just such a powerful thing to see somebody be able to see for the first time. So Quentin, are you ready for a little biology anatomy lesson?
Yeah.
Okay, so of course here at SIGHTLIFE we are all about the eye. And this is a cross-section of the human eye with all the different parts. And of course the part we're focused on is the cornea, which is this piece right here. And that's that front window of the eye that I was talking about. And so if you go over here, this actually blows up the cornea and shows you all the different cell layers that exist in the cornea. So you've got the outer part, which is the epithelium, this membrane here called Bowman's layer, the stroma, which makes up most of the thickness of the cornea, Descemet's membrane, and the endothelium. The endothelium is actually the most important. It's kind of like putting. If you have bad endothelium, you're going to have a bad cornea. If you have bad putting, your golf game's not going to be so good. Now, the thing to think about is all those layers are actually in the thickness of a credit card. So see how thick that is? This has all those cell layers in that thickness. So that's what we're working with when we help people to be able to see again with a cornea transplant. And here's the different types of transplants that we're able to do, from full thickness transplants to endothelial keratoplasty, which replaces just that endothelium layer of corneas. We also prepare corneas by cutting them in special shapes with a femtosecond laser.
So it's kind of a miracle business.
You know what? We really are fortunate, because it is a miracle for those people who are blind to be able to see again. We're actually going to take you around the back so you can see closer. Follow me back here. So Quentin, what they're doing here is they're actually preparing a special cornea for transplant. And they're going to actually remove just that inner layer of cells. And so Anna here is almost like a surgeon in doing the work that she's doing. And it's very technical and very difficult. And so how good she is with her hands will have a huge impact on how successful that transplant is. So this is a really important position at SIGHTLIFE. All right. So, what do you think?
I like it.
You like it? Any of those things seem more interesting than others to you?
I like the laboratory part.
Uh-huh. No, that's really a cool area, and what they do is really amazing. So the last thing I'm going to show you kind of sums everything up is this painting here. And this painting is titled Wellspring, and it was actually done by a cornea recipient after her transplant. Cynthia Kreibel is an artist who actually went blind and was to a point where she couldn't paint anymore. And so she wanted to share with SIGHTLIFE how much she appreciated having her sight restored. And so she made this painting, Wellspring, that kind of depicts different parts of her journey from being blind to being able to see.
That's a cool painting. It looks 3D.
It's amazing. It has texture and depth to it that only an artist can make happen.
And now she can see, huh?
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for inviting me to SIGHTLIFE, Mr. Montoya.
Well, it's been a great pleasure to have you here and share a little bit about SIGHTLIFE and our mission to eliminate corneal blindness. When are we going to play golf?
Soon.
Okay, I like it.
So, please go to Facebook and like SIGHTLIFE's page. And please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you next time. Bye! This is In the Fairway with Quentinvisiongolf.
YouTube channel.
That's pretty awesome.
So he's filming an episode at SIGHTLIFE.
Great. When can we see an episode?
Sometime this week and maybe between Wednesday and next week.
Perfect. We'll keep an eye out for it.
I guess so.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Thank you.
No pressure. I'm gonna edit that thing. I guess.
Thank you.
Go behind the scenes there at SIGHTLIFE with Mr. Montoya and Quentin. Mama's on camera.